New paddock on my wrist, yeah. White diamond and them shits in paint, yeah. Got the red to go get a mink, yeah. New finger ring sit like a saint, yeah.
Hola, mi gente, and welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Time. So for today's episode of Conspiracy Time, we have a very, very popular conspiracy. It's actually multiple different types of conspiracies, but they all surround JFK. So this is about the assassination of JFK. And in my previous video, lots of you guys were commenting like, oh, I like how you're kind of teaching us. So instead of teaching you guys about JFK's assassination and all that, and like for my previous conspiracies, I'm just going to talk about the conspiracies instead of going into the background, which I kind of should, but you guys can look it up. It's pretty easy to look up the history and what happened. So let's just get right into the conspiracies. So the first conspiracy is the CIA conspiracy, but also the FBI conspiracy. First the CIA, but then the FBI comes in later. So basically, it is that the CIA had planned to have JFK killed, and they knew what was going to happen, and they hired Oswald, who is JFK's murderer. They hired him to do it because obviously the CIA does not want to do it. That would cause a lot of problems in the country if the people knew that the CIA had actually killed JFK. So, like I said, you guys, the conspiracy is that the FBI and CIA, but the FBI part did not come out until a lot later. So basically the CIA had hired Oswald to do the murder. And there was a investigator, his name was like Fonzie, and he was looking into it, but then the CIA pressured him into not looking into their relationship because they had a relationship, but obviously they don't want it to be found. And then that's when everything like basically goes off in this conspiracy. The day before the assassination, a CIA agent actually was talking with Oswald, so obviously they knew who he was. It's not like they didn't know who he was. And then guys, it's crazy. Everything is so crazy. This is where the FBI comes in. So if you had no idea, the CIA and the FBI have cases or files on every American and every person basically who, should be watched, who people are on the lookout for and all that. So basically, you guys, what we found out in 1995 was that the CIA and the FBI tampered with his file, Oswald's file, before and after the assassination. So they were obviously doing something with him. They knew him, and they tampered with his files to make him look like a good person and then look like a bad person. You see what I'm saying? Last thing that we have here is, you guys, that there was a known threat towards JFK when he was over there visiting in Dallas. But they actually withheld that from the Secret Service, the bodyguards of the president. They withheld that information, and guess what happened? He was assassinated. So basically what people think about this is that they did this because he was a man who knew too much, and he was a man of the people, and he was going to tell the people everything that was going on in the government, such as aliens. So that is the CIA FBI conspiracy. Now, let's move on to the next one. The next conspiracy is actually a conspiracy that, like, it makes a lot of sense. There's not much to it, but it just makes a lot of sense because it's a conspiracy that can kind of happen in any government or, like, in any setting, really. So basically, it's the shadow government conspiracy. So as you know, lots of wealthy business people and lots of politicians, they rule the government. They rule Washington, they rule other governments. So basically what it is that they wanted him killed so they can do whatever they have on their agenda. Like, he was not for their agenda. So in order to get their agenda done and completed, you have to get him out of the way because he's the thing that's standing in the way of whatever it is that they want. The number one thing for that is that they wanted to escalate the war in Vietnam because obviously you would earn a lot of money. The business people would earn a lot of money from war because they would be getting money because they are the ones who are manufacturing the weapons and all of the things that you need for war, and those politicians are backed up by those business people. So when they're making money, they make money. You get it? So that's the shadow government conspiracy. Next is the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex goes that JFK wanted to get out of Vietnam, the Vietnam War. He did not want troops there anymore, so his plan was, he had planned to take them out. And military officials, leaders, they didn't like that because they obviously want to stay in Vietnam. They want to get more power, more world influence in Vietnam. And obviously they wanted to win, so, and then they have their way. Another thing was that they also really wanted to get him out because JFK was planning to get peace with the Soviet Union and just end the Cold War. He was not a person who really liked conflict and liked war, so he was like, I'm gonna end the Cold War, get peace with the Soviet Union, and the military officials did not like that, so that's another reason for them to get him out. The last one is one that I actually haven't heard about, but it's actually very popular. So it's about Cuba, actually. So I'm going to be reading from down here because I don't actually know very much about it. So basically it kind of goes hand in hand with the previous one, but those who run the military, they really wanted to overthrow Fidel Castro, and he was, of course, the leader of Cuba, and they really wanted to overthrow him, obviously, and kind of basically rule Cuba. That's what they wanted to do. So basically, exiles from Cuba also wanted that, and obviously the Bay of Pigs failed, and that dashed their dreams, so they kind of all blamed it on JFK, and they wanted him out of there so they can go ahead with that plan of attacking. So that is basically the background on this. That's why they got rid of him, so they could do the war with Cuba. But obviously that's not how things went, but that was what it is. Now, to be honest with you guys, I kind of believe all of these, but I feel like it could have been more than one, like all of them actually at the same time. Lots of people don't really necessarily believe in like all of them going on at the same time, but there was just so many people against him that I feel like it could have been all of them at the same time, and that's why we don't really know, you know? It's very covered up, and we don't know if that's actually what happened because everyone was working hand in hand. So that's kind of how I see it. Thank you guys so much for watching today's conspiracy time. I hope that you guys enjoyed. This is a very popular one. This is a very popular conspiracy, so I was really happy to do it, to get down to this, and I might be doing a part 2 because there's actually a lot of conspiracies, but these are kind of like the 4 most popular ones, but there's like up to 15 different types. So if you guys do want to see part 2, let me know. But other than that, thank you guys for watching another episode of Conspiracy Time, and until next time, adios mi gente.
Hey, hey. Up all night, baby.